There's two avenues of attack against Kamala Harris that are unsuccessful, and one avenue of attack against Kamala Harris that is successful. The successful one is immigration. She's the border czar. They could say that she is responsible for all of the immigrant crimes that are occurring. And the Democrats don't have a very effective counter to that because they've leaned on that narrative. VP, they can't help us up. No shot, dude. What do you think of the legal battle that the right will inevitably try to fight? Keep Kamala's name off the ticket. Obviously has no validity, but do you think it'll impact the media voter response? It'll impact the media and voter response in a negative way if the Democratic Party actually uses this to their advantage. This is a massive misstep. I talked about this yesterday extensively. There's two avenues of attack against Kamala Harris that are unsuccessful, and one avenue of attack against Kamala Harris that is successful. The successful one is immigration. She's the border czar. They could say that she is responsible for all of the immigrant crimes that are occurring. And the Democrats don't have a very effective counter to that because they've leaned on that narrative that like immigrants are actually responsible for a ton of crimes. And that's why the Democratic Party is the one that's going to be the anti-immigration party, which is really stupid, right? Absolutely zero people think that the Democratic Party is going to be an anti-immigration party. All you've done in that situation is basically look at your opponent on their strongest position and give them props for having such strongly held convictions, even though the narrative that is set is completely devoid of the reality on the ground. Immigrants are actually not responsible for a larger share of crimes. As a matter of fact, undocumented migrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. So the Democrats don't actually have a good way out of that, and I am actually a little worried about that. This is something that I've criticized the Democratic Party for quite some time, right? Bad instincts overall, bad messaging overall, bad politics, bad policy, okay? So that's number one. That's actually the least strong defense that the Democrats have. Having said that, you got that from John Oliver? Yeah, dude, I got that from John Oliver. I don't know if you know this, but you can go all the way back to like 2016, okay? I've been a political commentator professionally for the past 10 years, and this is an issue that I've talked about quite extensively for 10 years. If anything, John Oliver's writers got that from me, okay? Give me a break. Anyway, that's the immigration front. That's actually a weak area for Kamala Harris because, like I said, she was the border czar. They could pin this on her. Having said that, there's two avenues of attack that are bad and have immediate counters, okay? Two avenues of attack that are bad that have immediate counters. Kamala Harris is a woman. They do some misogynistic, right? They're like, oh, she's her way to the top. She's DEI. She's a black woman. She sucks. She's stupid, right? If the Republicans say these and misogynistic things, a smart way to recenter that conversation around not like being a victim of misogyny or whatever, but instead a smart way to counter that conversation would be to go, of course you're going to say this. After all, you're the party that, restricted women's access to abortion. That's it. Immediately recenter all of the misogyny back to the abortion conversation. That's the strongest thing that the Democrats have right now in front of them. That is the strongest conversation that they could go with. Another angle is like, oh, you feel your way to the top, but like Donald Trump is a sex pest. Like he literally has court cases. He has a defamation suit, double defamation suit against E. Jean Carroll. What are we doing here? You really want to have that conversation? Not exactly great. So that's another avenue of attack that has a very quick deflect. Okay. Also, the other thing that they can do is this legal battle that they want to launch. That's loser shit. And that's loser shit in the way that the Republican Party actually attempted and failed to do so in the 2020 election. They lost the election and they tried to steal the election through legal and illegal methods. So immediately, that's another strong suit for the Democratic Party. They could just turn around and go, oh, really? You want to fight this in the courts instead of fighting this in November? Didn't you do that last time around as well? Remember January 6th? How well did that play out for you? So those are really effective counters that you have. So if they try this like whole, oh, we're going to keep Biden on the ticket, even though he has not been the nominee. Like, he has not been appointed as a nominee. The convention hasn't happened yet. Even if they try to do that, okay, a successful PR campaign can completely take those arguments and flip them and turn the narrative back to two issues that the Republicans are very weak on. What are the two issues the Republicans are very weak on? They want to destroy democracy. Okay, in the eyes of the broader electorate, Republicans are chaotic. They want to destroy democracy. They want to be a dictator. Okay, that's number one. And the second one is abortion. They took away women's bodily autonomy. Anytime a blonde, blue-eyed woman in a state like Texas is having complications due to an ectopic pregnancy and they can't get an abortion in that state, that's on the Republicans. Okay, that's very important. And they need to hammer that shit in. Kamala Harris is a woman. Automatically, that's going to be a conversation point. Anytime people talk about IVF, Kamala Harris could turn around and go, Republicans want to take away IVF. The Southern Baptist Church got together and was openly saying, we need to restrict IVF only a couple months back. These guys are crazy. So that, like I said, is an attempt from the Republican Party that will lead to utter failure. Okay? Damn, they should hire you. They should, like, actually, or at least I know there's at least some staffers that listen to the broadcast. Hopefully they can come across as very smart in the rooms that they're in if they are listening to what I have to say here. We're not talking about IDF. We're talking about IVF, in vitro fertilization, how Jesus Christ was born. Why would Republicans want to democracy? I mean, they've been actively working on that, and for long before Donald Trump ever decided to be a Republican candidate for the presidency. That's like a thing that they've been trying to do for quite some time. Okay? Yeah, Jesus was a test tube baby. God did that. I'm a staffer on the Hill, but my rep is so ridiculously conservative. There's no hope, I fear. They won't be stupid enough to go for a transvestigation against Kamala. I hope they are. I hope they transvestigate Kamala Harris. That's awesome. That's like, one, that's funny, and it's content. And two, that kind of mania is exactly what they're going along with right now. And that's kind of the reason why 2022 was a dud. Like, they themselves over. They tripped themselves up by being insane on the timeline, okay? Anytime they do that, anytime they like go, oh, Kamala Harris is actually a secret man or whatever, you're losing voters in the suburbs, man. You just look insane. You're losing the normal vote, the normal voters. It's awesome. It's great. Like, here is JD Vance is doing that too, by the way. This is here. Put this under the Democrat. I mean, the Republicans want to destroy democracy category. Here it is.
Fight! We got time. Come on. Hey, we are in the fight for the soul of our nation. We are in a fight for our kids and our grandkids, a fight that we can never imagine. I believe wholeheartedly Donald Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind.
Yeah, no, keep doing that, man. That's awesome. Keep this energy, please. Keep this energy, please. This is such a hell. It's so awesome. Yeah. No. This is great because they can't help themselves. Republicans cannot help themselves. They've grown far too comfortable in their violent narratives. They literally cannot help themselves. This is a time where the Republican Party is supposed to angle towards the moderates. This is a time where they're supposed to change their narrative. This is a time I was a little worried for a brief moment when Donald Trump said, oh, after I got shot, changed. I'm going to be the unity guy now. I was a little worried for a brief moment. And then I remembered that Republicans can't help themselves. Okay. They are far too invested and far too comfortable. They just cannot help themselves. This is like the culture war button. They just got to keep hitting it. They got to keep hitting it over and over and over again, harder than I hit the top of the hour ad break button at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. which, by the way, of course, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. And you can do that for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Okay. Oh, this is like poison for moderates. Okay. This is great. You will lose Pennsylvania with this narrative. That's a lock. That's a guarantee. Okay. Every person living in a Pennsylvania suburb is going to be so grossed out by like this. Go ahead. Keep popping off. Okay. It would be even better if he turned around and started talking about how much further they're going to restrict abortion or IVF or something. You know what I mean? It's great. If we lose, we're doing civil war. Okay. Great take, man. Definitely the energy you want to keep up. I've talked about how most people don't really give a shit about January 6th. There are people who obviously do care about the democracy is on the ballot narrative. Okay. There are some who look at like January 6th as like a gross violation of American principles. And this is the most effective way to remind those people that, these guys want to do it again. That's it. Go ahead. Feed into that every day, every dang day.
And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
Oh, he followed it up. He said, we got the bikers on our side in the Civil War. You bring up the unifier tone and he immediately all over it. Lol, you are a prophet. It's not that I'm a prophet. It's just that I know the Republican Party. I know them well. I do so much hogwatch. I am obsessed with the Republicans. I'm obsessed with the way they message. I love it. I think it's so funny. I think it's awesome. So that's it. I know that they cannot help themselves. On the one hand, they're like, oh, we got to do more moderate messaging. We got to do more moderate messaging. Here's another insane thing that if they keep that narrative up, here's another insane thing that is going to look really bad. Kamala Harris has no biological children. Go ahead. Run with that. Please. Please run with that. Okay? Please. Great narrative. Great message. Wow. Treating women like they're cows to be bred. Gonna play out excellent. Okay? These are gonna lose Kentucky and if they do that. They're gonna lose the 52% white women vote if they keep doing that. And obviously, a lot of women are still obviously misogynistic for sure. But like, there is a certain level. There is a certain level that you cannot go beyond. If you just start being like, yeah, no, why is Kamala Harris not barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen? You're cooked. It's gross. There are better ways to make these inferences, better ways to make these arguments. And the Paul Ryan types have completely left the Republican Party at this point, and everyone is trying to do their own version of Donald Trump. And what people don't realize is Donald Trump is a uniquely singular force of charisma that is able to narrate these positions in a way that is appealing to the hogs, but no one else can recreate that. That's why I say he's the white man's Obama. You can't have that same narrative. And even with Donald Trump, that narrative is still like genuinely toxic to many people. That narrative is still why you saw a bunch of people in 2020 swap votes over to Joe Biden. I'm telling you right now, that absolutely is the easiest way to hand this election over to the Democratic ticket. I am like, this is exactly what I'm thinking of that makes me feel more confident in Donald Trump not winning re-election. Okay? Like, yeah, also saying foster parents aren't valid either. Exactly. That's so psychotic. But the problem is these guys are so caught up. They're so caught up in their own weird echo chambers, smelling each other's farts all goddamn day, that they just don't comprehend it. They literally they have forgotten people operate like in the real world, what they care about, what their motivations are. They're so invested in the Fox News driven culture war narratives and so used to like winning unconditionally no matter what, that they just think, no, this is the one button I have and I'm going to keep hitting it. I'm going to just say the most unhinged you've ever heard of. And that might actually change the minds of some Americans. This is why even with the trans panic, I often talked about like there's two outcomes of this. Either they keep hitting the anti-trans button over and over and over again, and they turn around and basically melt the brains of the average normal Republicans in the suburbs and or, and that's really terrifying. That means like, you know, the moms and dads in the suburbs that are like lifelong Republicans have now become like schizo QAnon people with the rest of the dudes you see on Twitter. Or they just feel like this narrative is too sweaty. They don't want to think about like children's genitals all the goddamn time, like Matt Walsh. Yeah, here it is. Here it is, by the way. This is exactly what I was talking about. JD Vance calls Kamala Harris a childless cat lady who is miserable with her life. Winning ticket, baby.
Saying is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs.
Like Tucker Carlson is a phenomenal propagandist. Okay, and he plays a really good role in radicalizing people. But if you do Tucker Carlson's like style of commentary, if you lean too much into that Groyper, you are pathetic. You are going to be seen as a loser by like a dude who's had a job for the past 35, 40 years. Like, think about it. I think it was Felix who said this. I think it was Felix who said this in the last Chapo ep that I was listening to, where he was like, can you imagine like the narratives that they're talking about now at CPAC or at the RNC? Like, what person with a job would ever look at this and go, that's my, like, that is inspiring to me. That like, you know, it's just so stupid.
By a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that
like, dude, you are being sold at the RNC. All of us had better buckle up. The stuff they said about Hillary in 2016 or what they've been saying about the Democrats in the Biden era will be nothing compared to what will come next. Great. I say bring it on, okay? I say bring it on. Why? Because Hillary Clinton did not lose because she was a woman and they did like so many misogynistic attacks. When you're a woman, especially if you're a black woman, yes, you have a harder battle to fight, okay? Barack Obama was a black man. It was historic. It was a hard battle, but he was able to overcome it. Hillary Clinton lost because she was a political operative that with a last name that was hated for decades at that point. Okay, so much opposition research, so much anti-Clinton sentiment was a permanent plank in the Republican Party. Okay, and Hillary Clinton, despite all of that, still won the popular vote. By the way, so the reality of the matter is, this is now a race that Kamala Harris could potentially win. Sometimes your most followed live channel disappears on mobile. Oh. Okay, anyway. Teamsters invite Harris to rank and file presidential roundtable. Today, the Teamsters Union officially invited Vice President Kamala Harris to sit down with a rank and file Teamsters for a member roundtable following the recent announcement of a candidacy for U.S. President. President Joe Biden, former President Donald Trump, independents Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Dr. Cornel West, and all other major candidates for president participated in historic Teamsters rank and file roundtables between December 2023 and March 2024. The Teamsters look forward to welcoming Vice President Kamala Harris to International Union headquarters in the near future to meet with our members directly, said Teamsters General President Sean O'Brien. As we have said throughout this process, our members' voices must be heard at all levels of our government to ensure the needs of working people are put first. The International Brotherhood of Teamsters has not issued any endorsement for a U.S. president. For those of you who don't know, that's exactly how Sean O'Brien sounds. Anyway, I just took a break from my Amazon route to let you know that your Boston accent is easily your best. Do better for us. Work on it. Make it a priority. Easily or worse. I didn't even read it correctly. That was horrible as a Massachusettsian. Okay, listen, dude. That's just how Sean O'Brien sounds. I'm sorry. Like, it is what it is, but you're wrong. Yeah, UAW is obviously going to endorse Kamala. Like, they're probably even more excited to endorse Kamala. Labor warm towards Harris. Top UAW sources say UAW International Executive Board will meet in the coming days on next steps, but says VP Harris is an ally and a champion, a sign she could be in line for the group's support soon. Organized labor organized labor key to de-coalition. Anyway, there's more. Speaking of organized labor here, this person at formerly at AFT Union put a Twitter thread together. Joe Biden promised to be the most pro-union president in American history, and he made good on that promise. One reason he's been able to deliver on so many issues is because of Kamala Harris's work at the head of the White House task force on worker organizing and empowerment. Harris did critical work in the background to engage labor leaders and everyday working people and to bring our ideas into policy reality. She's been a champion for workers in office and will continue Joe's legacy of empowering and uplifting working people. I do think that Kamala Harris is more progressive on the labor front than Joe Biden is. I've seen no indication that she is to the right of Joe Biden on this issue. Do I believe that she was the mastermind? Do you seriously believe that? She didn't do. They didn't do. You're wrong. I have defended Joe Biden's record being the most pro-labor president in our lifetime. That is absolutely correct. That's just correct. It is. This is not even a thing that I have gone back on. It is an incredibly, unimaginably low bar. It's not saying a lot, but it's still the truth. Do you feel me? Do you understand? Why do all the other commentators I hear fear she is less? It is just a lack of certainty. People always bring up the rail strike, not knowing what happened afterwards. And I talk about what happened afterwards, but it's just odd. Unionization rates have never been lower. Yes, but our unions have also secured historic contracts in this time frame. You know that, right? Unionization rates have never been lower. It's correct. You're right. Card check is one of the many things that they need to do. NLRB implemented some sort of card check and like a different version of card check, which, by the way, that's Brandon's NLRB. Once again, I know what happened. It was still break the strike and deny their right to negotiate. I agree. I am fully in favor of engaging in a strike such as that one. It would have been a historic strike. Biden also happens to be the first president to walk a active picket line. That is not something you can just cast aside. That's number one. Number two, ultimately they did go back. They did go back to the railroads. The railroad unions were happy with at least some of the gains that were made. If you have no sick days and you all of a sudden have 4 sick days, you know, that's a pretty surefire way to at least get the unions on board and make them feel as though you're on their side. He offered to walk a picket line. He didn't offer to walk a picket line. He did. He went to the UAW picket line and spoke at the UAW picket line in solidarity with the UAW. Let's get back to real news. Meanwhile, this is the info Matt Walsh is saying after Trump got shot. There's no conspiracy theory there's no conspiracy theory off the table now. The most powerful force in the world would do anything to stop Trump from being president. Is nutty. Also, speaking of the New York Times, I'm going to have a stead on from the New York Times on Thursday. Like, at a time when Charlie Kirk and right-wing content creators are in their copium bubble so hard that they're basically making inferences that Joe Biden is possibly dead, okay? I saw a tweet from Owen Schroyer, who literally said, and he's Alex Jones's guy, he's an InfoWars guy, saying that Joe Biden didn't sign his announcement that he was dropping out of the race. So obviously he's secretly dead. They've him. Like, that's what they're running with. That's what they're making inferences to. But both sides, dude, you have to be the absolute dumbest person on the planet to be like, yeah, the one side that's saying Joe Biden is dead and the other side that's saying, no, that's incorrect, actually are spreading the same amount of misinformation. The journalist who wrote the New York Times article follows me. I already DM'd her. Okay, calm down to set the record straight. All right. I believe this is the first poll to be conducted right after Biden's announcement. Harris is trailing Trump by 2%. Biden trailed by 6% in the morning consult poll. Harris has already seen a little bit of pickup. From the from in comparison to Biden. Okay. Oh, damn, this shit me up. Among other annoyances to Team Trump, they'll need to redecorate the campaign headquarters. Joe Biden is weak, failed, and dishonest. That's hilarious. All right. Let's move on from Biden's legacy. Let's look.
And joining us now is the Democratic governor of the state of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. Governor, thanks for being with us. First, your reaction to the news that came down yesterday of President Biden stepping.
You will get a better understanding of why I like him And I'm gonna be glazing him up again, by the way, from this point out.
Aside, and secondly, do you endorse Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. I want to thank President Biden for being a phenomenal president. He led us out of a pandemic faster than we have ever seen. He showed up in Kentucky after natural disasters and has helped us rebuild. He's helped us build the best economy in our history, building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill we've ever seen, creating jobs all over Kentucky and providing the funding to run internet access to every home and every business. His decision, I know, was hard, but it's going to secure his legacy that I believe historians are going to say was a great presidency. With that, I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris as for the next president of the United States. The vice president is smart and strong, which will make her a good president, but she's also kind. And
I recall that longer time ago claimed that the genocide in China has stopped. I recall being surprised and afterwards looking for a media place confirming that point, and I wasn't able to find it. That might be the misinformation you spread. You mean the Associated Press article talking about how the Uyghur concentration camps had closed down? Is that what you're talking about? I think it was this. I mean, this is one of the articles. Terror and tourism. Xinjiang eases its grip, but fear remains. Let me see if I can find the other Associated Press article. I don't know why we're doing this right now. This is a distraction, but there wasn't Associated. Your general vibe feels like disinformation. Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it again. All right, let's get to Bashar.
Has empathy, which can make her a great president. And the contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer. As a prosecutor, as an attorney general like I used to be, she prosecuted rapists, domestic abusers, stood for victims, and put away those abusers. Now look at the other side, where J.D. Vance calls pregnancy arising from rape inconvenient. No, it's just plain wrong. He suggests that women should stay in abusive relationships. Listen, a domestic abuser isn't a man, he's a monster, and no one should support anyone having to stay in those relationships. So the vice president is ready. She has my full endorsement. I'm going to do everything I can to support her.
All right.
Does he have the charisma for the job? Yes. Yes, I do think so. Dude, he's Wonder Bread. He's white as hell. He even has a twang. Okay. But more importantly, he's one of the most popular governors in the country in a deep red state like Kentucky. Okay. He's got twang. He's got swag. He fights hard for things that he believes. As crackdown eases, China's Xinjiang faces long road to rehabilitation. Yeah, this is one of the many articles that was written about the camps closing, which, by the way, I'd never said the camps didn't exist, for the record. That would be misinformation if I had done that, but I didn't do that. Anyway, it's like self-defeating. It's self-defeating liberal copium when we do this. When it's like, oh, right-wingers and this one guy on the left is actually identical in terms of like spreading misinformation. It's just so stupid. But you know, sometimes dumb liberals love doing that kind of stupid shit. How do you think Bashar would do in a debate against Chance? I think he'd cook him. Okay, I think he would absolutely cook him, especially because Bashar is also like he's a real Kentucky boy who has love for where he's from. His family's been in Kentucky politics, whereas J.D. Vance is someone who postured for liberals desperately, like the affection of liberals desperately. Notice none of these guys ever cite a thing you say when they call you misinformation. Yeah, I know. They would say, Hasan, oh God, I'm doing it again. Who cares? All right, let's continue.
All right, some news this morning here. Full endorsement from Governor Bashir of Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. As you know very well, Governor, because of your record of being elected and reelected as a Democrat in the state of Kentucky, which Donald Trump won in 2020 by about 26 points, people are very interested in you and your future in politics. Has anyone reached out to you from the new Harris campaign about the potential for being the vice presidential candidate, her running mate?
Well, I don't know how that process is going to work. It's flattering to be a part of it. I take it as a compliment, though, to what we've done in Kentucky. What we've done in Kentucky is what we need to do in this country. It's to move beyond the partisanship, the constant arguing, get beyond neighbors yelling at other neighbors just because of the box they checked when they registered to vote. We need to turn the temperature down and recognize that the most important things to our families, like a good job, health care, safe infrastructure, public safety, public education, none of those are partisan at all. And if we work hard every single day to make progress in those areas, we help all our citizens, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. And this country's has gotten to a boiling point where we just have to move past it. We've got to move to something better. We've got to get back to being Americans and not members of a political party. I believe that that the vice president will win this election. She will move us in that direction, and that's why I'm very excited to provide my full endorsement to her.
And so,
Follow up on the bet.
I think there's like a 50-50.
Dude, why would you get your politics from a goddamn Call of Duty player, dude? Like, I'm sorry. You're like, this is what you deserve. If you're like, oh, I wonder what like an older COD player has to say about this particular thing, like you deserve to be wrong all the time. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
50 chance that he forgets.
You just subscribed.
Cast that aside. If they just drop that.
So I actually,
Hey, Hudge is all right, man. No, man, shut the fuck up. No, he's not. He's not all right. And I say this as someone who played COD with him back in the day. Like, I had a lot of love for him, but over the years, he's become this person who's like very, I don't know, very smug. And I know a lot of people say that about me too, but it's like, yeah, at least I know what the fuck I'm talking about, dude. I didn't just get in on this conversation last second and just basically repeat that you heard on MSNBC or Destiny, okay? Even he is new to the fold in comparison to someone like myself. Like, I've been doing this for longer than he has as well, which, you know, every time I bring that up, his fan base gets real mad about that, but that's the truth. That's the reason why, you know, the things that I say are maybe a little bit more valid and get proven to be true. It's not because I'm like brilliant either. It's just I have experience, more experience. And I'm not simply going to like MSNBC for takes to repeat. But you know, it happens.
So, Governor, would you then be open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President?
Sorry for the link. He's been trashing me and you while being wrong, and it's been pissing me off. Also, he owes me $1,500. Yeah, I mean, who cares? Yeah, I don't really care about Hutch's political perspectives, and it is for his sake that I've refused to cover what he has to say about this issue or any other issue for, you know, I don't know why we're even talking about it. I don't want to. I mean, I hope you get your money. Yeah, it's just, it is what it is. You're probably not going to get that money, though. I'm going to be honest with you.
President Harris.
Yeah. Well, let me first say I love my job. I love serving the people of Kentucky. The only way I would consider something other than this current job is if I believed I could further help my people and to help this country. I also think, whether I'm asked for that or not, that it's important to be out there, you know, contrasting the vice president and those that she is running against. I believe her record is one of standing up for people, is fighting for the American people, and the record on the other side is just fighting for themselves.
So as vice president, you undoubtedly would be able to help your own people. So are you at least open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President Harris?
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen. And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here. Now, the nerve that he has to call the people of Kentucky, of Eastern Kentucky, lazy. Listen, these are the hardworking coal miners that powered the Industrial Revolution, that created the strongest middle class the world has ever seen, powered us through 2 world wars.
Yeah, that's why he's great. As a perfect counter for Vance, and I hope they see that. He's a real one. He's the guy. He's the method. He's the movement. I think he's the best possible guy. I really like Pritzker as well, but the major reason why I like him is because he's not in Illinois. He's in Kentucky. And at a time when so many Democrats in the Democratic Party that are in red states behave like cowardly Joe Manchin stereotypes, he breaks that mold and never stands down, never compromises on his perspective, especially when it comes to the endless, relentless attacks against some of the most marginalized Kentuckians. I really like that. So they won't pick him? No, I think they could. I think they would. And the reason why I think so is because he also hits the optics angle really well. He is one of the most popular governors in the country in Kentucky. His COVID restrictions were seen as like broadly positive in the state of Kentucky.
Race was also interesting in a lot of ways, but one of the issues that came up was, of course, trans rights. I mean, you did not hesitate.
We covered this already. I covered this already this morning. Let's go back to his video because I want to finish.
We should be thanking them, not calling them lazy. And so today was an opportunity to both support the vice president, but also to stand up for my people. Nobody calls us names, especially those that have worked hard for the betterment of this country.
So, Governor, you've been able to win election there in a state that overwhelmingly went for Donald Trump. So with that in mind, what should some of the messages be from the Democratic ticket going forward, whether you're on it or not, as it tries to paint this contrast with Donald Trump?
Well, what we've got to do is have a message for everyone. What we see from former President Trump are division and trying to rile one group up against others. My faith tells me that's wrong. Golden Rule says we love our neighbor as ourselves.
Hallelujah, baby. He said, my fate tells me that's wrong. Dude, anytime somebody's like, yo, what about this guy? I just want to show them his family photo, his Merry Christmas ass photo. That's like a flashbang grenade. Okay. This dude is a faith build. He is the whitest out there. He's got a Southern twang. He is OP. Okay.
And the parable of the Good Samaritan says everyone is our neighbor. So how about a unifying message that can bring people together and move us past this boiling point in our country? How about we focus on the things that matter most to people when they wake up in the morning? Because when people wake up in the morning, they're thinking about their job and whether they make enough money to support their family. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment for themselves.
By the way, dude, another thing you have to remember, he's not even doing the calls for unity that Democrats love doing or bipartisanship. He's literally saying, we got to focus on shit that matters for everyday Americans. None of this fake chaos and division caused by the Republicans. He's hitting Republicans. He's calling them out for culture war talking points. And he's basically bringing it back to policies. This is what you hear from the likes of Bernie Sanders. This is also part of the reason why Bernie Sanders, for the 600 years that he's been in office, has seen as like broadly popular and real, like earnest. He's doing that right now. This conversation is phenomenal. It's not a fake call for bipartisanships. It's not a fake call for Republicans to be a stronger party. It's not even calling the question at the top of the hour ad break and trying to unify against it at the top of the hour by saying, hey, listen, if you don't want to see those ads, just like the rest of the community, all you need to do is subscribe. He reads as wholesome, very Christian. I'm telling you, he would be cooking. Okay. Yeah, we already covered this earlier today, but I guess people weren't in here. I might as well play it again. He went on a pro-trans message in Kentucky twice. Pro-abortion and pro-trans. And he's popular. Like, you don't understand what that means. Some of your ad breaks make me wonder if you are indeed a good person. Oh, man.
Themselves, their parents, their kids. They're thinking about the roads and bridges they're going to drive on that day. They're thinking about the public safety in their community, and they're thinking about the school they're dropping their kids off at. That's what most people worry about. And if we can't satisfy that, they don't get to whatever the issue of the day is in Washington, D.C. No, the message ought to be, I'm in this to build a better life for everyone, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. You know, I run as a proud Democrat, but the moment I became Attorney General and Governor, I took that hat off and I serve every single citizen of my Commonwealth. And that's why in re-election, I was reelected by 5 percentage points being a Democrat in Kentucky. That's like 30 anywhere else. But I think it's just people saw who I am. and how hard I was trying, and that whether you voted for me or not, I wanted to make your life better. That's what we need to hear from our candidates, and that's what Vice President Harris can do. People want to get back to normalcy. They want to be able to wake up in the morning and check the news, but not have to worry about what crazy thing happened the other day or what crazy thing somebody said. They want to be able to put their kids in front of the TV and not worry about what a former president will say in the language that he'll use. That's who we are as an American people, and that's what we want to get back to.
Pro-union, anti-charter school, pro-LGBTQ rights, uncompromising, insanely Southern. Okay, he's perfect. I love that a chatter said pro-Israel. If you can find me one American congressperson currently up for the VP nod that is not the most loyal servant to the state of Israel, with the exception of like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, okay, like a valid choice that will not also have a potential contested seat or anything like that, you are delusional. Saying someone is pro-Israel when talking about the American Democratic Party or the American Republican Party is like saying they're pro-America. Israel is literally a part of America. It's a state, okay? It's the 51st state, but like an important state, perhaps even seen as a more important state than Kentucky.
I think you're making a great point, Governor, in your endorsement of Kamala Harris, and I want to ask you more about that. You said earlier, and I thought it was very interesting, we need to get back to becoming Americans. And to your point, what has become partisan in the past few years, or since Trump became president, since he served, is democracy, the concept of democracy. Trump Republicans ignore so much, and they spew out a lot of disinformation, and all of it is working against our democratic values. So who do you hope in this election? Is it really about Democrat and Republican, or is it about democracy? Who do you hope will step up and support the Democratic nominee, and you hope it'll be Kamala Harris? Is it important in this moment to cross the aisle even, to really make this about the future of our democracy as we know it? Whether it be George W. Bush or military leaders along with the Obamas and the Clintons, how much, Governor, is at stake in this election?
Well, a lot is at stake. And let me say it's always important to cross the aisle because those are our neighbors, friends, and we can't let ourselves become so divided because we checked a box that said D or R when all of us are unique. We're made up of the experiences of our lives, and we have different views, even if we're a member of a same party. And so we've got to make sure that we have that dialogue, and we've got to give people the ability, the permission to vote for whoever they think is going to be the best candidate. Mm-hmm. You know, partisanship is now everywhere. From the car you drive to the beer you drink, you're supposed to pick a side. And we just...
Oh, I'm going to nut. I'm going to nut. I'm going to nut. I'm going to nut. Oh, he even brought the beer. Oh, my God. He's doing the Bud Light memes. Oh, my God. I'm nutting. Oh, if I'm in Kentucky, I'm like, that's right. That's my goddamn governor, man. He's right about that. What has become of this goddamn country? Telling us you're nutting when you're actually not nutting is misinformation. Okay, fair. I'll dial back my misinfo on when I'm nutting. Hell yeah, birder. This is my governor. I love my governor, and my governor loves Tupac. Yeah, I have your link, chatter. Don't worry. Hold on, I gotta pee.
Continue that. And that's why I think that the vice president can give a compelling message about being better. For me, that's certainly about my faith, and it's about living my faith and caring about absolutely everyone. And so this election, especially with the contrast of such a divisive figure like former President Trump, who spews anger, that we can create a contrast that hopefully not only wins this election, but moves us past all this craziness we've been living in. I want a better world for my kids. I want better government. for my kids. I want a Congress that works, but I certainly want a president that they can sit in front of the TV and watch. And whether I agree or disagree with what they're talking about, I know they'll do it in a respectful way.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you want to be able to put your kids in front of the TV and not be worried what's going to come out of the president's mouth. Kentucky's Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, he really crystallized it. Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning, making news this morning here on Morning Joe.
That fucking outro is long as hell, brother. Here, let's take a look at. Oh, before that, sorry. Here. This is what he had to say in November 20th, 2023, when he got reelected, after he got reelected on a pro-trans, like unconditional support for LGBTQ Kentuckians, after he demonstrated that he doesn't give a fuck and he doesn't play that.
This was also interesting in a lot of ways, but one of the issues that came up was, of course, trans rights. I mean, you did not hesitate to veto a sweeping anti-trans bill passed by the Kentucky state legislature, but your opponents still kind of came after, they also, because of that, probably came after you on that. It didn't work. What does that tell you about the effectiveness of this kind of an attack and, this approach from a lot of Republicans out there?
Well, all children are children of God. That's what my faith teaches me, and I was going to stand up especially for the most marginalized children that didn't deserve either a state legislature or an entire campaign and all these super PACs picking on them. These are individuals that are already at the margin.
You know that this is a HasanAbi favorite. Like, the greatest way to neutralize the trans panic arguments is by being like, why do you care so much? Like, that's weird. Even though some of my own trans chatters have oftentimes been at odds with me on this messaging. It is a million times more effective than trying to fucking bring up empirical evidence or like talk about trans suicide rates or anything like that. Well, that part actually you could do in this argument as well. But the best way to talk about it is like, they are children of God too, if you're into God, right? They're just normal people trying to live their fucking daily lives. Why do you want to make their lives worse? They're such a tiny, marginal percentage of the population, and you're spending all of your fucking time trying to harm them when you should be spending some of this goddamn time fixing the fucking potholes. Okay? That's it. That's a winning message. That's the method, baby. The greatest way to neutralize the trans panic arguments is just to be like, dude, you're fucking weird. Trans people don't even think about trans people this much. The fuck's wrong with you? Be fucking normal. And it's true. Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh know more about the latest in like trans culture or trans people. If a trans person sneezes weirdly in a fucking 3-mile vicinity, Ben Shapiro's alerted about it. You know what I mean? Like, they are more tapped in to what the fuck is going on with trans people than most trans people. I think the issue is that the trans spread like cockroaches, so you need to shut them down. Oh yeah, this is an all-time great. That guy is fucking insane, by the way. You mods, clap that fucking dipshit.
And women's restrooms for women who have penises and they just want to stand and pee.
I think people are just making too big of a deal about it. I don't really care.
Ooh. Naughty words. Okay, so we should or shouldn't?
I mean, I don't really care.
Okay. What about tampons and pads in men's restroom for men who have periods?
If you're really getting that worked up about it, why does it matter? Like, I don't care. It's just sitting there. I'm not going to take it.
Okay. So we should provide men with tampons.
I mean, if a dude wants a tampon for some reason, he can have a tampon. That's not my business.
What would he use it for?
I don't know. That's his problem.
What would he use a pad for?
His problem.
Do you think they should seek medical advice if they're having bleeding?
I mean, if they want to, I don't really care. Why should I care?
I don't know. I care about people. If they're bleeding out of their penis, I would want to...
I care about people's personal rights. They can do whatever they want. It's none of my business.
What the fuck is that video?
Output.
It's just so perfect. Why do you care about this shit is such a good fucking question to ask when the shit that they care about is hurting no one. And there's a lot of Republican commentary around shit that hurts nobody, you know?
The studies show suffer more mental health issues, are more at risk for suicide. We ought to be in the suicide prevention business and not further harming kids who are going through too much. I did it because it was the right thing, but I will say that the way these super PACs and my opponent went about their campaign was just mean, and it was gross, and it was cruel, and people don't like that. That is not who we are, and this ought to be a message that you can't scapegoat people just to get folks angry, and it's wrong, right? Think about what some people are doing, trying to dehumanize other human beings, trying to turn people against each other, to even foster hate and anger towards another American here, another Kentuckian. Why? So you can elect one more person that has a certain letter behind their name. Listen, this can't be right and left. Some things have to be basic right and wrong, and we've got to get our politics back to where we ask the basic question of right and wrong. There's got to be limits. I mean, this can't be a ruleless type of game because it's so much more than a game. Ask any of these kids.
He wasn't running for president, he wasn't running on the presidential ticket potentially when he was saying that. That was in November. They usually argue that they spread the propaganda on the kids at school. No, that's great. That's when you can fucking be like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What propaganda? Is that how you think it works? When you see like a gay person existing in school that you become gay? Are you gay? Are you having homosexual thoughts right now? Have you seen a gay couple on your way to this conversation? Is that perhaps the reason why you want to suck a penis currently? I don't want to suck a penis right now. I see gay shit all the time. I live in West Hollywood. This is the gay mecca. The thought never crosses the mind, however. You know? These guys are delusional. And all of happening on CNN. What? I don't know if you're Brad. I think you aspire to be Brad. You just don't become Brad. You have to try.
That is a cool thing. It has a color. Chartreuse is the color. And Kamala Harris has adopted that for...
Remember yesterday when we didn't live in this timeline and I said, I really hope that they don't lean into this meme or any number of different memes that the Kamala Harris campaign will probably inevitably lean into in an effort to keep the momentum organic. It took them literally less than 12 hours to actually obliterate it. I fucking hate these careerist charlatans. Some of you are in here that make these short-term beneficial goals in an effort to get some news media coverage around it, and then you end up cooking your organic marketing opportunities. That is definitely a 30-year-old staffer that is responsible for this, leaning into the brat memes. You fucked it up. You fucked it up. It's so short-sighted. Don't do it. This is what happened with Dark Brandon. Well, the thing is, with Dark Brandon, it was making fun of how old he is. So him leaning into it didn't really matter in either direction because he was still fucking old. Kamala Harris does have the capacity to just like be herself and then have people meme her. Problem is, if she tries to lean into it a little bit, it's gonna end up cutting down the organic share value.
Whatever social media page that is. But I have brought some notes because I knew you would want a definition. Okay, here we go. Charlie XCX, who I do know, quote, Brat, you're just that girl who is a little messy and likes to party and maybe says some dumb things sometimes, end quote.
So it's the idea that we're all kind of Brat and Vice President Harris is Brat? I don't know if you're Brat.
I think you aspire to be Brat. Right. Jake. You don't just become Brat.
Oh, okay.
You have to try.
You can work at it.
I will aspire to be Brat. I will aspire. But I mean...
I'm Brian Kilme. We're all Brian Kilme today.
The point is that she is, whether it's her or some very clever people who work for her, going right for them in a language of their own that apparently nobody at this table speaks.
To quote another generation.
Except for you, because you think you're
maybe
23.
This is your generation. She's going to
I'm the closest.
You're a millennial. Take it easy.
So you tell me, is this your... She's going to own it.
She's going to own it.
Own it.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is, at 59, she is the youngest candidate in the race. And also, Donald Trump is now the oldest living presidential nominee.
That is true. We did see some of this with her first run, the K-Hive, if you will. Like, she did have a huge social media presence 5 years ago when she was running unsuccessfully.
Didn't do much good, though.
It did not do much good for her electoral outcome, but she did have that kind of entree into this world, and I think it's going to be turbocharged now for this.
All right. Thanks.
For those...
Bro, bringing up organic marketing that you just got from Charlie XCX to the fucking K-Hive, you should not be allowed to speak on these matters. Come on, dog. You don't got like a single person. What is going on? I'm gonna stop saying no to when these outlets actually ask me on. It cuts away from my stream time, so I usually say no. But I feel like I have to start chirping at this shit. Harry Daniels sings to Kamala Harris in new video.
Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess. Paparazzi catch my fly and my cocky fresh. I'm so reckless when I rock this Givenchy dress, period. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Well, yes.
Who is that guy?
What the fuck is this? What is this? I don't know what the fuck this is. I'm getting angry because I don't understand what you're showing me. I'm like an old man. Anyway. Oh, also, once again, Republicans hitting the good notes. In terms of Hogwatch, which we are going to get to now. Representative Tim Burchett, a conservative Republican from Tennessee, attacks Vice President Kamala Harris as a DEI hire.
Question to a Republican Congressman, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, about the fact that they would be going up against someone who would be the first black South Asian woman who could be president of the United States, and what that means for the Republican campaign.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group?
Ew, he sounds like a Redditor. Gross. God, these guys are they're so messy, bro. The Republican Party, I don't know what adjective to use in this situation. Like they're so lame and so messy right now. What about white females? Shut up, man. Now, the irony, of course, in this statement is that Biden did actually make the DEI statement, which is unfortunate because they can always go back to that conversation and be like, well, Biden is the one who said this was an affirmative action pick personally. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, notice back in the day, they used to say it for affirmative action. Now they say DEI because the words changed, but the message didn't, if you know what I mean. Anyway, just so you know, the guy that called you a spreader of misinformation where Chad said that he's writing pro-Israel stuff, etc. I couldn't find anything about that. He did write very basic articles on how to check if pictures from Israel, Gaza, or a different one. So, yeah, DEI is the new welfare queen, the new affirmative action. It's just another way to say woke. It's another way to say the N-word, basically. However, I did say this when Biden came out and was like, hey, I'm actually getting Kamala. I'm choosing like a black woman as my VP. I'm choosing a black woman as the Supreme Court of the United States Justice. For the Supreme Court of the United States Justice is like, you are undermining their accomplishments and their background and their achievements when you say that, dumbass. And the reason why he said it is because he is kind of old and racist. So he basically kind of threw ahead of time. And I called it out back then. I straight up called it out 4 fucking years ago. Only kind of old and racist? No, he's definitely old and racist. Not kind of. I'm just trying to be charitable here because he dropped out. Are you going to ever introduce your new girlfriend on stream? What the fuck are you talking about? Your mom? That's my daughter. Anyway, DEI.
When you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
Are you suggesting?
Notice you put Kamala in your title. Thoughts on the view that using women's first names and men's last names for politicians is delegitimizing and keeping gender in their focus? This is literally the one day where I didn't write Brandon and you sniped it. That's an insane take, dude. No, the reason why I'm using Kamala instead of Harris is because Kamala is a unique name. When someone's name is unique, when their first name is unique, that's like a more identifiable trait. Someone said Brandon is his last name. Brother, yeah, everybody says Bernie instead of Bernie Sanders instead of Sanders. But also, do you not understand the reason why I call him Brand? I'm making fun of him when I say Brandon. No, this was a popular video talking about how men will typically call women in positions of power by their first name, i.e. Hillary, not Clinton. This was a study done in 2020. I think in terms of I'm sure that's correct. I'm sure that there is validity to that. Except the reason why I'm using Kamala instead of Harris is because Kamala is a more unique name. When I write a title like that and I have limited space, I have to use an economy of words. And the reason for that, that creates a environment where I'm just using like terms like Brandon. Didn't she go by Hillary to avoid the name association with the Clintons? I think she went by Hillary because Clinton, her husband, was president. Gretchen Whitmer, though, yeah, I do call her Big Gretch. I don't know.
She was a DEI hire.
It kind of undermines her achievements, though. Wait, what? What undermines whose achievements? Calling Kamala Harris Kamala undermines her achievements? Man, get this fucking libtard shit out of here, okay? I don't give a fuck. Okay, I'm undermining your achievements then. Yes, I'm sexist. Suck my dick. Okay, give a fucking inch to these goddamn losers and immediately they're like, well, it's time to drive the narrative panic into Radfem territory immediately. The least fucking productive way that we can have a conversation. Get the fuck out of here, dude. God damn. Radlibs, one fucking day. One goddamn day. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. You can't have one fucking day without turning around and be like, me. You wanna address what I care about? Holy fuck. Remember talking about Elizabeth in 2020? Yeah, I always not just address, but apologize. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm going to keep fucking calling Kamala Harris Kamala, okay? Because I hate her because of her woman status. Oh my God.
100%. She was a DEI hire. He said he was going to hire, and she didn't. Her record is abysmal at best.
We know that as a former prosecutor, she can prosecute the case against a convicted